11 meteorologist Kim Castro. What a match. Destruction by the Dutch, right? 5-1. Now, if you're lucky enough to be at the stadium watching this match, it is now raining down buckets. And I am tracking some lightning in the area, so that's what I want you to be conscientious about as you plan your next steps. What were you trying to do next? Were you trying to go to Fan Festival? Were you trying to go to Pitch 25? There are more matches to watch, so I want to make sure you are prepared weather-wise. Okay, so I've got the stadium highlighted. There's just some rain in the mix right now. If I widen the view, and I'll show you here in a second, there's lightning in the area, and that's what I'm kind of more concerned about here over the next couple of hours. Fan Festival right now, it's raining, but it's light rain, so it's manageable. I think if you're there already, just try to stay in some sort of an awning. I know they have a couple of tents out there, but there's not a lot of covering. So this lightning that's all around the area is something that I'll be watching closely for you to see if it's getting close to where you are. Now, lightning is safe if it's at least 10 miles away because it can strike within a 10-mile radius. So for that reason, I want you, if you were planning to be outside, to try and find an alternate option indoors. Like I said, Pitch 25 is probably a good idea, or any other bar that you could go to inside. Look at the number of lightning strikes over the last 10 minutes. I mean, they are prolific. We're talking about 500 strikes. Here's the difference between positive and negative strikes in case you're wondering. Positive strikes come from the top of the thunderstorm cell, so they're actually 10 times stronger once they reach the ground. Negative strikes come from the base of the thunderstorm cell. They're still very dangerous, but not as potent. I look at that number to see if these thunderstorms are intensifying or not. Right now they're pretty evenly split, so they're holding steady. That's a concern because when rain holds steady, it can lead to issues on the roads like ponding, high water spots, and street flooding. Right now we have an active flash flood warning for a portion of southeast Harris County into Galveston. This is a warning that goes on until 2:45. So keep that in mind. LaPorte, Seabrook, all along the bay. Kemah, the boardwalk is not looking so hot right now. So you'll notice there's a lot of rain. It's starting to push into the bay side. Hopefully it moves on to Chambers that hasn't seen a ton of rain just yet and then makes its exit stage left. That would be very nice. If you'll notice, I take a closer look in here. These are some of the areas that have gotten a lot of rain in just the last 3, maybe 4 hours. 6-inch rainfall totals look like this. LaPorte, about 4.5 inches. If I take you closer to Seabrook and Short Acres, that's an area that's gotten at least 5 inches in a pretty short amount of time. You know how much rain we got this week. So our grounds are already saturated. We're at capacity. We do not want to handle any more heavy rain. So when we do get it, we have to caution you about it. Notice if I take you out towards the Katy Freeway, that's an area that's being lit up right now as well. Lots of lightning there, lots of heavy rain. However, that's an area that hasn't had too much throughout the last couple of hours, so we're still okay. There are no warnings in terms of flooding in those spots in case that's where you're headed to watch the games. Notice right now, about 1.5 inches along the Katy Freeway. If you're trying to get into the city center, I think you will encounter some slow commutes. Slick roads for sure, but I don't think you'll see too much by way of high water concerns just yet. Now, our flood risk did increase for today. It was at a level 1 earlier this morning, and now it's been upgraded into a level 2. This is on the 1 to 4 scale, so that means we have the risk for street flooding throughout the remainder of the day. What does that mean for you? It means you need to check in with us throughout the afternoon and evening. So at least check radar before you head outside. Maybe you find an alternate route, or perhaps you just make alternate plans, maybe somewhere a little closer so you don't have to commute so far. Here's a look at future track radar. So how long is this mess going to last? I've actually gotten a couple texts from friends asking me that, so I'm just going to tell you all at once. All right, check this out. Over the next couple of hours, I think from now to 4 o'clock, that's when we're tracking the heaviest rain. And look, some of the spots could be getting hit with training thunderstorms, so thunderstorms that redevelop in the same area. So of course there's the concern for street flooding if we don't see enough time for the water to recede. So that's going to be something I watch through the afternoon. I think by around 6-7 o'clock, that is when those showers will start to relax a little bit. I think there's still a chance for rain, so if you're thinking umbrella or no umbrella, just keep it in the back seat. You're probably going to make use of it at some point throughout today, but I think it'll be a lot more manageable by this evening. 7 o'clock, by the way, that's when Ecuador plays tonight, so I will have a much easier time trying to commute during that time frame, which is nice. All right, early tomorrow morning, that's when we get another round of heavy rain. So if you have any Father's Day plans, perhaps you're looking at a breakfast or a tee off or whatever you had planned early tomorrow morning, try to give yourself a little leeway here because I think it's going to be messy through about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. I think the rest of the afternoon looks a lot better. Yeah, you see a couple of specks there on future track radar that could feature a couple of isolated showers, but that's it. It'll be isolated at that point. It's not going to be widespread heavy rain. Here's another check of conditions. So we kicked off. It was actually a pretty perfect forecast. I hate to toot my horn, but you know, credit where credit is due. The storms really started right around 12 o'clock when the first match started, Netherlands with Sweden. You'll notice the temperatures got a little brief reprieve, a little break with rain-cooled air, but the humidity is still around, so it's still pretty hot and humid outside, steamy. Feels like 103 at this point, and it's going to stay feeling like we're in the triple digits through tonight. Here's a live look at Fan Festival. So I see people moving around. It looks like the actual site right now is rain-free, which is nice. I just want to caution you that this is an area that could see some rain. I don't see too many people out and about, so hopefully folks heeded the warning and found somewhere inside to watch, at least for the time being. It's 80 degrees right now, 12-degree temperature drop from yesterday because of the rain, but of course humidity does make it feel hotter than that, so it feels like 86 degrees right now. We're still under a heat advisory, so that hasn't changed. That is set to expire at 10 o'clock tonight. Until then, we will be monitoring pretty steamy temperatures. The feeling could get up to 108 degrees throughout the afternoon. In Celsius, that's 42 for all of my friends that are visiting. The thing about heat and humidity, you know, you might be used to the heat. Maybe you're coming in from Arizona and you like the dry heat. Humidity makes it a little bit tougher on the body, and it's because the body is working so hard to cool itself off. So when we are trying to cool ourselves off, we sweat. Under dry conditions, that sweat evaporates, and that's a cooling effect. So we get a little bit of a break. Under muggy conditions like we have here in Houston, when we sweat and the air around us is wet also, there's nowhere for that sweat to evaporate, so it stays trapped in our bodies. Our organs heat up, the heart pumps faster, the kidneys work harder, and so it is really important for you to take precautions. So take breaks, go in and out of the AC if you can, so your body can recalibrate. Of course, goes without saying, you need to be drinking water. And you want to try to wear loose fitted clothing so at least you can sweat out a little bit of something. All right, one last look in case you're just joining us on the stream. I'm keeping a very close eye on the Houston Stadium, of course, as the match just got let out. There's some light rain around, but really most of the heavy activity is missing you at this point. FanFest, same thing. I'm tracking a couple of sprinkles, but no heavy rain for you just yet. Know that there is heavy rain in the outskirts, and there are some flashes of lightning pretty nearby. If there's just lightning 10 miles away, it becomes a threat, and so I wouldn't be surprised if folks at Fan Festival are assessing whether or not to, you know, let more people in, knowing that there could be a risk for lightning. Notice the wide view of radar. Things are definitely intensifying in terms of the charge in the atmosphere. So not only do we have heavy downpours, but we got a lot of electricity out there. 500 strikes over the last 10 minutes still, so these storms are holding steady. We talked about the difference between negative and positive strikes. The positive ones are stronger. I look at that to measure whether or not these storms are going to continue or intensify. Right now they're holding steady, which is why we've got the concern for flooding. So you'll notice there is an active flash flood warning. This is for southeast Harris County into Galveston. It includes LaPorte, Seabrook, Taylor Lake Village, so the Kima Boardwalk area. That's the spot that you want to try to avoid for the time being. There's been a lot of rain over the last couple of hours, some 5.5 inches. Katy Freeway right now is getting slammed, heavy rain, lots of lightning, but luckily not a lot of accumulation for the west side of Harris County, the Loop or the Beltway. I mean, we're just talking about maybe 0.5 inch to 1 inch so far, so that is manageable. I'm hoping it stays that way. Here's your hourly forecast. So temperatures are still steamy despite the rain. We'll be in the upper 80s to low 90s. I think your rain chance lasts until maybe 6 o'clock. By 7, things should start quieting down. We're going to take a little break from the rain, and then we do have one more chance of some showers for the early part of Father's Day Sunday. And then next week, looks a lot better. I think those rain chances really scale back, just 20% as we go each and every day, and that's just because of all the humidity that's around. Temperatures, though, they're here to stay, okay? Those highs are going to be in the low to mid 80s throughout the remainder of the 7-day forecast. It feels like the triple digits with humidity, so you know the deal. It's just that time of year that we do have to be mindful of how we are hydrating. Weather impact alert, that is in effect until that heat advisory expires. That is at 10 o'clock tonight. The showers, I think, are going to end a little earlier than that, so that's good news. But it is a rainy day in Houston, so try and make your plans that accommodate that. All right, have a great Saturday, and I'll see you later.